What's up YouTube, Timflow Crazy, and today I'm going to be doing another deck profile for you. This is a very special deck profile because this is the first deck I made when I got back into Yu-Gi-Oh! About a year ago. I know I was out of the game for a while, but I've learned and I've evolved and I know everything that needs to be known. And I really like how the game is compared to when I was younger. I like the competitiveness and the endless possibilities of always being able to do a move depending on how you make your deck. This Harpy deck is very fun to run. You know, there's a lot of plays you can make, and even though it may be tier 1 or definitely tier 2, it could compete with a lot of the decks, and it's very consistent in my opinion. Like, no matter what 5 cards I draw, I think I'll always be able to make a play. Some not the best, but always a play that keep me in the game. I've never been in a situation where I just got dominated, like, ever. So I'm gonna start showing you this deck. This is I worked on it very hard. Tried to have every card in a good rarity. The only card I don't think that's a holo is Fiendish, cause it's actually pretty expensive. That's the only card that I didn't want to go out and buy like 3 of. So I'm going to show you my deck profile. Of course, you're going to start off with the standard 3 Chandlers. This is the main card in the deck. This is the Searcher. Every main deck that's competitive needs its Searcher. And this card is very important because it helps you make your rank 7 plays. And basically, when you summon Chandler, you can discard a Harpy from your hand and special summon another one, and that's where you can summon Pet Dragon and go into your rank 7. The fact that this deck lets you go into rank 7s makes it very competitive because of Draco Sack. And there's other really good cards in rank 7s as well. So this card is good, and it'll help you go into a rank 4 immediately too, depending on the situation you're in. So that's very good. And she's at 1400 attack with a couple boosts that you'll definitely be getting. It's great. Next, you're going to be running 3 Harpy Queen. This card is really important because it helps you search out Harpy's hunting ground. You can discard it to the graveyard and get a hunting ground to your hand if you didn't get it in your starting play. The importance of hunting ground, it just helps you pop all back rows, so the fact that this card lets you get it automatically, and the fact that it's a 1900 beater is great. It's a really good card. And in the field or graveyard, its name is always Harpie Lady, so that's always good. The next card a lot of people run at 2, but for me, keeping your Harpy count up is important because you need to have a Harpy in your hand at all times, in my opinion. I run 3 Dancer. Now, Dancer is amazing. This card saves you from back row because when you summon when you summon her, you can target a wind monster you control. It could be her if it's the only one in that case. You can send it back to your hand, summon again, and if you have hunting ground on the field, that means you get to pop 2 back row off 1 card. So that is a really good effect. That's her main effect. That it can only be used once per turn, but in the field or graveyard, Harpy Lady, so that's good. Next, I run 3 of Harpy Lady 1. A lot of people ask me why I don't run Cyber Harpy Lady, and although she's an 1800 beater, this card is a 1600 beater because her own effect applies the minute she's summoned. All wind monsters gain 300 attack. That could even apply on Draco Sack, which is awesome. And she boosts all the Harpies on the field. So if you're trying to go for like an OTK play, this is great. And I love to have her because she's an easy discard for me if I have her in my hand, because I know with Hysteric Party I'll bring her back later and she'll boost all my Harpies. So it's always good to have her in your graveyard as well. She's the easy discard Harpy. Sometimes you don't want to discard a certain Harpy, so I mean, she's the one. She's great in many ways. So next, only running 1 pet dragon. I know why, but it's a very dead draw, and if I draw him in my first turn, the chance of me going into a rank 7 that game, kinda out the window. So I mean, you wanna have, you could have two if you really like going for the rank 7s, but if with one, there's a less of a chance that you'll draw him, making it easier for you to go into your rank 7. Having two is good too, just depends what kind of plays you're trying to make. For me personally, one is enough. I side the other pet dragon if I see I'm up against somebody where I need to make another rank 7. So that's it for the Harpy cards. 2, Summoner Monk. This card is literally like, I feel like this card is made for this deck. Why? Because you have to discard a spell card and then you can summon another monster, helping you go into a rank 4 play right away. But also, you have Hysteric Sign in this deck, and Hysteric Sign, when it goes to the graveyard, you get to add 3 Harpies with different names to your hand, which is crazy. It could save your game. So if you even open up with Summoner Monk and Hysteric Sign in your hand and you didn't even draw a Harpy, you're going to get 3 the next turn because you're going to use Summoner Monk and you're going to discard. And you're going to be able to make a rank 4 all in the same play. It's amazing, and I feel like Summoner Monk is the best fit for this deck. That's why I have 2, because I want to be able to do the Hysteric Sign discard at all times. It's the best. And we play 1 Blackwing Zephyros the Elite. Why? Because we have cards in this deck that are dead on the field a lot. Meaning you can have a hunting ground on the field that'll just be there sometimes. You'll have a Fiendish that could just be void and it could be sitting on the field. And you could have a Hysteric Sign on the field because you chose that you needed Elegant Egotist over its other effect, or you weren't in a position to use his other effect. So what Zephyros does is, when he's in your graveyard, and when I do the Summoner Monk, I usually go for Zephyros because I want to keep my Harpy plays for other Xyz monsters. When this is in your graveyard, you could send 1 face-up card to your hand and special summon him. You can only use his effect once per duel, so that's why there's only 1. But you could basically reuse a sign, or you can reuse a Fiendish if it's void on the field. So he lets you get a card back to your hand. You know, if you have a sign on the field and you have a Summoner Monk in your hand and him in your graveyard, you know, you could go for really good plays. That's why I really think that he's important for this deck. That's it for all the monsters that we have in this deck. We're going to move on to the spells. Of course, the standard should always be 3 Harpies Hunting Grounds. This card, everyone hates this card. Why? Because it lets you pop all back row. You basically will play a game without back row. Of course, here and there you'll get chained for a torrential or something like that. But for the most part, the card I destroy most of this is Mirror Force. So that like really aggravates people. Every time you summon a Harpy, you basically get to pop a back row or any magic or trap card. So that's really good. And also he all-wing beast monsters gain 200, so it's great for Zephyros too. It could make that little push for the OTK. So everyone hates this card, and you should always run 3. Next, 3 Hysteric Sign. This might be the soul of the deck when it comes to the magics. This card, when you activate it on the field, it's continuous. When you activate this card on the field, you get to get an Elegant Egotist from your deck or graveyard to your hand. So that's really important, because Elegant Egotist lets you summon a Harpy if you control a Harpy. Or this is the card when it's discarded, you get to get 3 Harpies with different names to your hand. So this card is a big playmaker, at all times. It'll always help you summon more than one Harpy in whichever way. Next, one Elegant Egotist. Why? Because you have 3 hysteric signs, so you'll always be in a position to get more Harpies. So you'll be able to reuse this Elegant Egotist. You could put 2 if you want, if you really want to like, but some if you want to have a better chance of having it in your hand. But I don't recommend it because you'll usually always have Harpies, and if you have another Elegant Egotist, you may draw into that when you need a monster. So that's why I only run 1. And next we have 2 Mirror Force. Sorry, Mystical Space Typhoon. Why? Even though you can pop so much back row, sometimes you just want to blind MST and get a Torrential. Like in my opening play, if someone has a card face down, I'm always scared that it's Torrential, and it could kind of give you that peace of mind. And if you take out a Torrential, it's really good. But yeah, blind MSTing is really good sometimes against the right opponent. So I think you gotta have it. Even though you have so much back row popping power, you can never pop enough back row. And in my experience, when I duel with this deck, I usually duel an opponent without back row because I destroy it all. And that's great. So next you're gonna have 1 Book of Moon. And this is because there's a lot of cards that are weaker when they're face down defense. Their effects will be gone. So it'll help you get over a lot. It'll help you get over a lot of Xyz monsters too. So that's why you have Book of Moon. And of course, 1 Dark Hole. Why? It's Dark Hole. That's it for my spells. And sometimes opponents just have a field you really just can't overcome. So it's always good to have a Dark Hole just in case. Now we're going to move on to the traps. You have 3 Hysteric Party. This is the OTK card. If you have 5 Harpies in your graveyard and you have no monsters on the field and you activate this card and your opponent doesn't stop it, it's pretty much over. You get to summon 5 Harpies to the field, as many as possible. So that is a crazy card. Also, you have to activate this card by discarding a card. So if you have even 3 Harpies in your graveyard mid-game, and you activate this card by discarding a sign, it's just Harpy galore. You will be in a power situation at all times. You won't really have anything to worry about. And the amount of Xyz plays that this card lets you go into is nuts. So of course, 2 Mirror Force. You have to have Mirror Forces because everyone tries to OTK nowadays. That's just the main purpose of almost every deck. So when someone tries to OTK and you get Mirror Force, perfect. 1 Torrential. Personally, I love this card for Yugiohs because they're always summoning the most insane amount of monsters at all times. So when you hit a Yugioh player with a Torrential, it's lights out. They won't be able to recover for the most part. 1 Compulse, because Compulse is a card that's in a gray area. It doesn't destroy a monster, it just sends it back to the hand. I personally don't use this on normal monsters. I only use it on Xyz monsters or synchros because it sends them right back to the extra deck, meaning your opponent wasted the monsters to get the card and they summon their monster, Xyz monster or synchro, and you just compulse them. It's bye-bye to all their hard work. And you don't have to worry about a card that can't be destroyed by battle or something, you know, or card effect because it doesn't destroy them. 1 Bottomless Trap Hole. Of course, it's bottomless, it's a staple. I only run 1 Fiendish Chain. Maybe because it's not hollow. Nah, I'm just kidding. Because although it's very useful, I had use of other cards, so, and I honestly prefer Mirror Force over it, only because Fiendish is a little easy to get over now, because even if you negate a card's effect for 1 turn, people could always MST it. And I only have 1 because I know I'll be able to reuse it. Say if I use this and it gets void, I can use Zephyros effect to bring this back to my hand. So it's really like having two Fiendish in one because of Zephyros. He's a really good reason for me to only have one. Phoenix Wing Blast, because returning cards to the top of the deck is, in my opinion, the best way to get rid of XYZs. Same reason I have Compulse. And also this lets you discard a card, meaning Hysteric Sign, use its effect, get 3 Harpies. It's amazing. And it's really good. So for that, next I have 1 Egotist Attack. Tribute 1 Winged Beast monster. Virtually every deck in your card besides Summoner Monk is a Winged Beast. Then target 2 cards on the field and destroy them. That pretty much says it for itself. You're going to have a Solemn, because it's Solemn and you can always negate. And the last card, you're going to have a Magical Hats. This card is amazing in this deck because, say you put on a face down Harpy, your opponent declares an attack, you activate Magical Hats. You basically get 2 other non-monster cards, put them face down with your monster, and they're all destroyed at the end phase, so you can always use Hysteric Sign effect with this. You put a Hysteric Sign face down, the end phase it's destroyed, you get 3 Harpies to your hand, helping you make a power play next game, even a rank 7 play. It guarantees a rank 7 play too. That's it for the traps. Should I do side deck? No, I'll do extra deck first, and then I'll get onto the side deck. Okay, for the extra deck, we're gonna start off with Mecha Phantom Beast Dracosack. Why? Because it's the main card in the extra deck. It lets you special summon 2 Mecha Phantom Beast tokens. While the tokens are on the field, this card cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects, and once per turn you can tribute 1 token and destroy 1 card on the field. So that's why, just from its effect, you can see why this card is worth so much money. You don't have... there was a while where I was using this deck without Dracosack because, I mean, it's a $75 to $80 card. So I see why a lot of people wouldn't buy it. And you can live without it, but if you can get your hands on it, it'll bring this deck to a whole nother level, trust me. Next, we have Big Eye, number 11 Big Eye. Why? Because you basically get to, it's 2 level 7s. These are all 2 level 7s, by the way. These are all rank 7 cards. By the way, you get into rank 7 with Harpy Channeler, using her effect to bring out Pet Dragon. And Chandler's effect is she acts as a level 7 when there's a dragon on the field. So, if you didn't remember, that's how you get rank 7 plays off in this deck. Big Eye, you take control of a monster that your opponent controls, bring it to your side of the field. If your opponent has like a really good, strong monster, it'll help in the OTK factor, and you detach 1 to do that. A good rank 7 card that is very affordable, we have number 74, Master of Blades. Anytime this card is targeted for by an effect, I think, anytime an effect is activated that targets this card, you can detach 1 XYZ, negate the activation. If you do, destroy that card, and destroy 1 card on the field. So if a card is activated that targets this card, it's great. So that's it for the rank 7s. We're going to move on to the rank 4s. Of course, we have 1 Evil Swarm Exciton Knight. Why? Because once per chain, you can pretty much destroy every card on the field. And that is only if your opponent has more cards in their hand and on their side of the field. But this card definitely retains its value by that effect. This card is also a very expensive card. Then we have a number 101, Silent Honor Arc. This card is amazing. It pretty much, it's a rank 4. It takes over a special summon. You can detach 2, take a special summon monster, and most of the time that'll be the only card your opponent has. You can take the special summon monster and make a material for this card. And once per turn, when this card is about to be destroyed, you can detach 1 and stop it from being destroyed. And it's 2100 attack, explaining why its price is so hefty as well. Very good card. The main XYZ monster in this deck is none of those expensive cards. That's right. 3 Lightning Chidori. When I tell you this card is insane, this card, everyone hates this card. People would rather have me go into Dracossack than go into this card for the most part. Why? Because it's 2 level 4 wind monsters, which is all your harpies. And what it does is when it's summoned, you get to send 1 set card on the field that your opponent controls to the bottom of their deck. They can't chain it. If it's a Mirror Force, if it's Torrential, whatever, they can't chain it because it's going straight to the bottom of their deck. Then you can detach and send 1 face-up card your opponent controls to the top of their deck. It's an easy way to clear out. If your opponent has like a level 4 monster that they don't care, any card they don't care about on the field face up, they just wanted to get it over with, you can detach and send it to the top of their deck. Hence, you control what they draw next, stopping them from getting a better card, and in the process, you get rid of a set card, send it to the bottom of their deck. People really hate this card. Like, this card will mess up a lot of decks, including I've messed up Sylvans, Yugiohs, a lot of decks. This card is amazing. This card helps a lot. This is the best XYZ card in this deck. I feel like it was made only for this deck. 1 black ship, because it's black ship, everyone knows. Harpy's Pet Phantasmal Dragon. 3 level 4 wind monsters, and you can detach and attack directly. So if you get off its full effect, you will be hitting your opponent directly for 6,000, which is very powerful. It's always a good option. Diamond Direwolf. Why? Because once per turn you can detach 1 XYZ material, then target 1 beast warrior, or winged beast type monster you control, and 1 other card on the field and destroy them. This is actually the ideal card to get the most use out of your Hysteric Sign. You can summon Hysteric Sign, get Egotist, summon 2 you can summon basically you can use Hysteric Sign, get Egotist, summon 2 harpies, overlay for this, attack your opponent, detach, and send this card and Hysteric Sign to the graveyard, basically meaning you get your 3 harpies to your hand for the next turn. Ice Beast Zero Fiend. This is a really good card. It's a level 4 winged beast monsters. It gains 300 attack for each card on the field, depending on who you're versing. If you're versing like Fire Fist, for example, they always have like all their Tenki, Tensu, and all that. They have all of that up on the field. So for each face-up card, if you have a Void Fiendish Chain, you can give this thing a really big power boost. Next we have Steel Swarm Roach, because when you can detach and your opponent can't summon a level 5 or higher monster. I have this card in here just for Dark World decks, because they're always pushing for Grapha, so this is a good way to just negate that. Queen Dragon Jin, because it's 2 level 4 monsters. Dragon type monsters you control can't be destroyed as long as she's up on the field by battle, and you can detach and bring back a dragon, special summon a dragon from your graveyard. So if you've already done the rank 7 play late in the game, you can find a way to summon this, bring back the pet dragon. You could reuse the pet dragon again to go into another rank 7. So it's really good. And the last card, number 103, Ragna Zero. This came out in Primal. This card is like literally like crazy. I don't know why I haven't seen a lot of people using it, but I'm just going to let you know this card's effect. During either player's turn, you can detach 1 Xyz material from this card, target 1 face-up attack position monster your opponent controls whose attack is different from its original attack, destroy it, and if you do, draw 1 card. This card gives you draw power, and it destroys a monster. That's unheard of, in my opinion. I've never seen a card like this. The fact that this card is only like $1, I recommend all of you that watch this go grab this card. I think it'll go up in price really soon, And if you didn't know, almost every deck that runs field spells has their monster not at the original attack, so you will be taking them out. I have a few honorable mentions for the extra deck that just didn't cut it or have been replaced over time. Gaga Cowboy, he's a really good card. He just, I didn't have space for him anymore, but he's a really good card. Maestroke, really good card, just didn't have space. Staple, if you're starting out, you need Utopia. He's really good. I've gone into him a few times with this deck, just there's no room now. In Photon Papilloperative, he's a really good card also. So, just some honorable mentions for the Xyz Monsters. I'm going to go into my side deck now. Harpy's Pet Dragon. You might always want another rank 7 play. Thunder King Ryo. If you open up with this card, he's very good against a lot of decks. If you didn't know, he stops you from drawing cards, bringing cards to your hand other than by drawing them. So a lot of decks that search for cards will be negated. He's a staple. Egotist, in case you want to run another one, just in case you want to be able to summon more harpies, but you can already summon a lot, so don't get greedy. Dimensional Prison, against some type of opponents you just feel like you need way more traps. Another Fiendish in case I need it. A Wiretap in case I need to negate. There's some decks where like I feel like they're just always using traps on me, and sometimes you just want to negate them if you can't pop them. That's why I also True Trap Stun. This is rare case where I go up against someone where I would need all of these, but sometimes you just want to negate trap cards. Black Horn of Heaven to negate a special summon, and the ultimate negate card, Royal Decree. This card is face up on the field, you negate the effects of all of the traps. Yeah, that means yours too, so be careful on who you use that against. But for the most part, that's it for my deck profile. If you like it, subscribe, comment, like the video below, and if you do have any suggestions or comments, just let me know. Thank you for watching, and that's it.